Okay, people, welcome out. We're taking a look at Thick-Faced Blackheart, the warrior philosophy for conquering the challenges of business and life. And I talked about this in the first video. This is the second video. I'm going to be taking a look at, well, the first chapter was Thick-Faced Blackheart, understanding those two terms, the essence of Thick-Faced Blackheart. The second chapter is the unlearning of certain things. And I would suggest that's something that you take a serious look at in regards to a lot of what, I don't want to say a lot, too much, maybe, of what you've learned. Oftentimes, misinformation is perpetuated year after year, generation after generation. Things just float around in the ether regions and without any significant backing, nothing to fortify or to certify truths behind what is being said. So a lot of old wives' tales, as my mom used to say. I don't even know what that means, but I guess wives told tales. I don't know, maybe tied into the gossip thing. But anyways, that's old school. We'll leave that behind. Anyways, Thick-Faced Blackheart. So I'm going to be taking a look at this. One thing I wanted to note here is the way, if you want to learn how to write, maybe someday I'll do a video on writing. I'll go over my books and my writing in general. I've written 9-10 books. I've lost count, hundreds, maybe 300, 400 articles. I just prepared a couple of syllabi. It didn't come out too well. Syllabi for my upcoming college classes this semester. I teach a few here and there to get me out of the house rather than just sitting here creating videos and coaching. So I go out and mingle with the people. Keeps my wife happy too. Could you teach a few more classes next semester? That'd be great. Anyways, so we went over the essence of Thick-Faced Blackheart. That's definition. And if you're going to write about something, definitions are great. Definitions, not only in writing about something, but understanding the essence or the basic concepts behind whatever. Maybe the basic concept behind you. What is the definition of you? Me, I am basically an open-ended, abstract, creative thinker who is probably founded more in the emotion element. I'd have to say it's probably equal, considering the different personality types I've wandered into, I've been analyzed as. And for personality types, I'm talking about the Jung typology test. Briggs-Myers typology test. You don't just stay in one category. You sometimes bleed into the ones before and after it. And my basic personality type, I've got a lot of intuition in me. I don't know, what is that, emotional, spiritual, that kind of stuff. But I also have a lot of logic, and I think that's due to my father. I grew up, my dad was a graduate of Brown University, went to RISD, some prestigious graduate school, to get his engineering degree. And engineers, come on, talk about logic. So, and I was a computer programmer for a few years, didn't care for it much. I'm more into human software, not the software that's used with computers, but anyways, the software of humans, I should say. But anyways, understanding yourself, you want to define something. You're writing a book, you're writing an essay, you're writing a cover letter, you're writing whatever. You always want to define what is your purpose, what is your goal. There's a video out there, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm not a big fan of his. Sometimes he, like many intellectuals, goes too far into areas that he's not an expert in, and we all get into trouble to do that. I do that, but I always qualify it by saying, this is what I've read. I'm no expert. I'm just repeating, parroting what the experts have said, So I'm not going to go out on a limb and start going into various fields. I always try to qualify, saying I'm no expert, but the great brains that I've read in said field say this and that and blah, 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 right? So anyways, you've got the definition, chapter 1. Preparation for Thick-Faced Blackheart is kind of the unlearning, right? 11 principles for getting free. And there's certain stuff I had to learn. Come to find out, I learned. There are certain things I had to unlearn as I was growing that were not necessarily true for me. It may have been true for those who put that knowledge or information or perspective into me, and it might have been parents or teachers or other, adult influencers, right? And I had a struggle with some of that in the early goings, to find the real me and to find the more objective truths. You get these subjective truths put into you, my way or the highway, and you find out it's not the great truth of all truth. It's just that person's truth or what that person believes, right? Then we go into Dharma, which is the foundation, and then you start to go into the next 10 chapters or so are kind of like exemplification or developmental chapters in which evidence is brought forth to support and sustain the concept of thick-faced black heart, and therefore and therein, blah, blah, blah. Then the last 2 chapters is how do you apply, right? So I generally like the way this book is laid out. It's got a nice little introduction here. Why did she write it? Where did she come from? Where did thick-faced black heart come from? Where is she coming from geographically, intellectually, religiously, and so forth, right? Then I already went over this. And the thing is, I'm not going to go into each chapter. I'm not teaching you this book. I am not the author. So this is not my philosophy. I'm not going to coach you in thick-faced black heart. But what I like about it, what I do with a lot of the readings, most of what I read, is I always look at it from kind of a selfish perspective. We're humans. It's easy to be selfish. So please be selfish in that regard. Not selfish really, but self-help, I guess you could say, self-improvement, so that you can be a better person, maybe less selfish by improving yourself, right? Self-inquiry, that's a good one, right? So I'm not going to go over every detail in the text. I just want to expose these concepts to you, and that's all I'm doing really. So here we have preparation for thick-faced black heart, and I'm probably not going. I'm going to be skipping some chapters. I don't know. There's 16 chapters. I think I'll maybe do 11 or 12 because I'm not a big fan of some of these chapters. I don't find them applicable to me, and my students and my clients have kind of concurred and said, yeah, I'm not a particular fan of that chapter and so forth. So let's get this. So this is breaking the constraints of inner images and external standards, right? This is what I'm talking about. And after I read this chapter, I realized that this is something I had to do in my life in general, right? There were certain things. I'm not saying people are putting stuff into your head maliciously, thoughts into your head, but parents or teachers or famous people or maybe politicians, my president, that's my president. My president says, well, you better figure out what you want or what you say, before you just blindly follow what anything anybody says, right? That's kind of a cult-like fashion. And don't go into that cult-like fashion. It's very difficult, though, to be I don't want to say completely independent thinker, but a considerably or greatly independent thinker. There's not a lot of those people out there, but those are usually the healthiest people, the most productive people, the calmest people, the most insightful people, the most aware people, right? Those kind of people that don't just follow the dodo bird. Remember Ice Age, the dodo birds, dodo, following each other off the cliff. Where are you going? Following the dodo. Hey, I'm following those guys. They're going. I follow. I'm going. They're going. I'm going. I'm following. Dodo off the cliff. Well, we don't want to be cliff divers without a cause. If you do it with a good cause and a good reason, that's fine. No, I'm just kidding. Don't jump off any cliffs. Not advisable. Anyways, thick-faced black heart is not simply a clever way to manipulate the world for your personal advantage. Key point. Please notify that. That's an essential point. So that right there shows you that the tone of this whole book is that even though the thick-faced black heart is a neutral tool, the basic tone of the text, and it's kind of implied or stated kind of here directly and somewhat indirectly, that it's not to be used in a negative way, right? Manipulate the world for your personal gain. And this is basically about taking on the challenges of the world, right? How to have your shield to protect you from incoming, sword to allow you to move forward with the outgoing, what you do and say, your actions, your thoughts, and your feelings and your words, right? that type of stuff. Anyways, this state has been lost to us because of well-meaning people. There you go, not malicious, who drilled into us all the rules, and that's not always well-meaning. So I think she could have qualified that. I'm sure there are some malicious people out there. You know humans. Are you a human? Do you know any humans? Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's some, not all well-meaning, who drilled into us all the rules of how we ought to behave and how we ought to feel. See, that's what I'm talking about. It is lost to us because of an inner image we have created of ourselves out of other people's expectations and beliefs. Please stop there. Let's have a moment of silence and meditate for all who have fallen by this philosophy. No, right? Terrible. Terrible. Don't do it. Just say no. You can do drugs, but don't do that. Again, I'm joking. Don't do drugs on Tuesdays. Anyways, achieving thick-faced black heart means first reclaiming the natural state of our inner self, right? Our true self, sorry. A friend of mine is late 40s. Now she's going into exemplification to explain that relatively abstract statement. So this is what we do as writers. We begin a book, a chapter, a section with a general abstract idea, and then make it concrete or understandable, visible through little stories and anecdotes, evidence, right? Facts and statistics and expert and non-expert statement, and all that stuff, right? Anyways, there's a little example. Sorry. Anyways, there's a little example right there. I'm going to skip that. Beginning with childhood, most of us have been taught that the highest prize in the world is the approval of others. I don't know if it's most of us, many of us, a good number of us, maybe too many of us, right? And it's not. No, I don't think going after approval of others is pretty much a weak kind of what's the term I'm looking for? A weak kind of energy, I guess you could say, right? You want to have strong energy. You want to do things with strengths. You don't want to do them like sentences, A good sentence is very straightforward. Subject, verb, object. The lightning struck the barn. Not the barn was struck by the lightning. Putting the actor or the action or the thing that is doing something at the end of the sentence. We want a very proactive type of thinking, type of being, right? Don't cut to the chase, especially when it comes to you and what you need and your feelings, understanding yourself and applying yourself to yourself. And that's why you got to understand yourself first, right? You cannot do much of anything if you don't understand yourself and who you are and really what you need to know in order to know what you need to do. That makes sense. Perhaps it's not stated in so many words, but it's implied in everything we are told is right and good. We are obedient in order to please our parents. We are studious and well-behaved in order to please our teachers. We share our toys so our playmates will like us. Sometimes. So you can take that. There's always caveats here, right? When we try to get when we try to get our own way, we're told we're being selfish. Somehow ideas of good and bad get tangled up in our young minds with the need to gain the approval of others. In fact, people who teach us the right and wrong are themselves victims of the same confusion. This is great stuff. This is just like everyday common sense, right to the gut type of stuff. I don't like blanking around. You fill in the blank. I don't like blanking around, right? I just don't play with me. Don't play with people's minds. Don't play with your own mind. Don't play with your own life. Don't play with other people. Don't do it. That's nasty. That's weak. That's malicious. Playing with people's feelings and their minds and others so you can get something or feel better for yourself just by beating someone up about the ears in whatever way, verbally, mentally. So I was going to say something about there's a well-behaved in order to please our teachers. Oh, there's a book by Dr. Deci. I think it's John Deci. Maybe I'll present. I don't know if I'm going to do a video on that. I don't think I really need to. What I might do is just put a list of books. I can't do this. What I'm doing right now is trying to set a foundation, setting up a library. The first stuff I did, one of the first things I did was about 4 or 5 years ago. And then I got busy and now I'm back to making videos. And since then, I've probably made about 25 videos in the last month or so, right? But anyways, I'm looking at these foundational books that I think you really need to look at. This is one of them. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, right? And The Law of Success, Napoleon Hill. Law of Success by 16 Lessons, right? And I think that's it. That's all I'm going to do for now, because I want to get more into the day-to-day contemporary stuff that's going on around the world, in the United States mostly. And I'm not talking about politics, but I'm talking about maybe education, workplace, things like that. Maybe some of it will be political, because the political, we swim within the political. That's why I have my students read Common Sense Economics. I have them read the Constitution. I wrote a book on the Constitution. Title of it is that academics and lawyers can go elsewhere. I initially was thinking of putting a dirty word in that title. They can, you know what I mean? They can go away like that. But I try to be nice, So academics and lawyers can go elsewhere. What I wrote was basically, I read several books on the Constitution. A lawyer friend of mine is one of his pastimes is learning more, knowing more about the Constitution. So I kind of consulted him on what I was writing. And I'm no expert. Don't come to me for constitutional advice. I kind of understand it I'm learning more and more each day, but it's highly complex. The Constitution itself is a very basic outline of what our government should do and be, at the executive, legislature, House, Congress, right? House and Senate, Congress, and also a little bit of the states. State stuff is thrown in there, and also the ratification of the Constitution. There's not a lot there, and it's very. The people kill me. I know I'm off on a tangent a little bit, but such is life. This is good stuff. And maybe I'll do the Constitution. I don't know. I keep the more and more stuff I want to do. I realize I'm going to be making, videos till the end of time with all the stuff that I want to cover. But the problem with the Constitution is people go, oh, that's an old document. It's racist or whatever. It's old, yeah. I mean, it's way old, right? And the reason why they made it very vague and just kind of a general outline of stuff is because they knew that the country would grow and change over time. And what changes the Constitution? They don't necessarily add new amendments. They've added 27, right? And did you know that there have been literally thousands of proposed amendments? Only 27 passed, made it through, right? So it's very difficult to modify the Constitution. But, in the long run, I don't even know if it matters. Politicians, Congress, presidents override the constitutional laws on a regular basis. For instance, if you know anything about the executive branch or the presidential branch, over the years, more and more have the executive office done executive overreach, gone beyond what they're supposed to be doing according to the Constitution, law of the land. Nobody knows, nobody cares. I'll just do what I want. I'm the executive. I'm the president. I'll do what I want. Blah 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 blah. And I'll just have the press hide it and keep the people ignorant. And I think that's one of the problems we have. People are generally ignorant about the Constitution, the law of the land, what it really is. This is why I teach it, right? And they're also very ignorant about basic economic elements. At the local, state, federal level, personal level, economics is critical. It's about our money, man, bro, sis, right? You really got to know what's going on. All right, where was I? I'm messing around. Anyways, I do mess around. Remember now, I'm just a grown child. I may look gray and old, but inside beats the heart of a 12-year-old. Sometimes my son who's 18 looks at me when I'm doing stuff. He goes, Dad, what are you, like 5? Grow up. Speaking of growing older, as we grow older, it becomes apparent that to defer constantly to others and seek their approval is not the most efficient way to get ahead. Duh, right? Yeah, most of us continue with this ineffective behavior. Sometimes we experiment with selfishness. We usually discover that it produces bad feelings within us. Yeah, that's the intuition. Intuition is everything. Einstein, intuition is everything, right? You can feel it. That's kind of dharma. We'll get to dharma. Dharma is your sensation. Because Einstein said there's only so much you can know. You can only read so many books. You only have so much time to read and to study, to take in information. Eventually, you have to rely on intuition. There's no choice. Our limitations are extreme. So if you think you're going to trust in the science is often wrong itself. That's a joke. that current concept, trust it, that's science, follow this science. Well, the science is often wrong. Pluto's a planet. No, it's not. It's an asteroid. It's a planet. It's something else, blah, blah, blah. We don't know, right? And ideas about, for instance, in the medical field, you should drink a glass of wine every day. No, we're just kidding. Don't drink it at all. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, once a week, maybe 5 times or 3 times. Oh, wait, 1, 0. Don't do it. Coffee's good for you. Coffee's bad for you. Yeah. I've been to many doctors. I've had, say it to be honest, I've had cancer. I've had a heart attack. I just died on the operation table about 4 times within the last 3 days. I got a little pacemaker in me now, right? So I know, just flinging that stuff out there. Anyways, I know what medicine is. I have a firsthand experience, right? And why do you think doctors work within a practice, or the labeling of what they are, or what they're doing is a practice? Does it say that, we've got an absolute finalized, are they called absolute finalists? Finalizers? No, absolute finalizers? No doubt, right? Doctors have a certain understanding of things they really don't know, because if you're looking at complex systems, the environment is one, the laws of physics, there's another one, and also the laws of human physiology. Very, 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 very complex, shifting, changing, dynamic, fleeting, not only from person to person, but within the individual. My doctor, when I had cancer 20-something years ago, he was sitting there with taking copious notes. By the time we were done, he could have written a novel on me, the questions he asked. Okay, we're going to try this and try that, and then sometimes something would happen and go, well, we just don't know. So I realized that they probably have a handful of methodologies or procedures or medications, whatever, right, to apply to probably try to swing you back to standard or normal, right? Swing you back to norm, get that heart rate up, get the blood flowing, get the brain working, whatever it is, right? But a lot of times they just don't know. And that's where most physicians live. They just don't know. And that's where most experts live. They really don't know. They don't know a bleeping thing. And if they say they do, get away from those people. Get away from them fast. Those are fascists. They just want to control you, right? I will never say that I know in the absolute anything. I absolutely know that I am absolutely wrong a good number of times. Right? But there's generally stuff that you can do and should do that's better than doing, that's superior to doing other things or doing other ways, right? That's why I'm giving you this stuff. So this stuff has really helped me. And it's really helped a lot of my students and clients, and it really kind of solidifies things. It's not a fail-safe methodology, nothing is. But instead of making, 90% errors, you can cut it down to maybe 40, 50%. Like a baseball player. If they're supreme players, they're getting a hit 30% of the time, failing 70% of the time. If you can get your batting average up around 500 or so, in regards to life and your interactions with people in the workforce and so forth, you're doing better than most, believe me. Most people just kind of wing it. They're like, la, 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 brains to the air, whatever it is to do, knowing nothing, It's amazing what people don't know. Take some time, please, please, please. Whenever you say something 3 times or more, it's important. That's what I tell my students, please. 4 times. Take some time and really think about things. A lot of what I've given you is stuff that you can use to think about things. Be proactive, be conscientious, be involved, right? Be aware. Constantly, I'm learning stuff all the time. I've read hundreds, I don't know, thousands of books. I don't know. I'm not saying you have to read that much, but who cares? Just learn stuff that's relevant and important to you. Not me. I'm a college professor, writer, adjunct guy. I'm a total nerd. You may not be a total nerd. You may hate reading. Yeah, so what? Forget about hating reading. Just do whatever you need to do in order to learn stuff that you need to learn in order to improve yourself, right? This is the great laboratory. This is the laboratory of life. It's a great experiment, right? Parenting. Oh, I don't know. I didn't know anything about parenting when I started out, right? Or on the job. Oh, I didn't know anything, that first day of working as a fill in the blank, right? I didn't know anything, it takes experience. It probably takes you 3 to 5 years and there's been books written on this. There's one, can't remember the guy's name, but I can see his curly hair, big forehead. The 10,000 hour rule, something like that, where you need to work about 10,000 hours, which is basically 3 to 5 years full time, in order to really begin to infringe upon the level of expert, the expert level. It takes a while. It takes a while. I've been doing this 20 years, right? You don't just learn this stuff overnight. You don't just know stuff overnight. It's a lot of work, concerted, consistent effort and work and input and blood, and sweat, sacrifice and tears. Blood, sweat, and tears and sacrifice. Let's put them in the proper order. Anyways, most of us continue with this ineffective behavior, right? So true. Next paragraph. So it is with many of the other selfless virtues, but this is, in fact, pretentious and covert behavior. If you don't know words, if you want to increase your ability to comprehend and understand and not to be fooled or played with, your dictionary should be your best friend. Pretentious? It's like, I'm great. And you're not, but you go, I'm great. I'm awesome. I know everything. I'm perfect. I'm pretty. I'm awesome. That's pretentious. Covert is kind of, doing it secretly, covert operations. Often we disguise our concern for ourselves as concern for others. Right? Let me help you. Let me help you. Help you. I had a girlfriend like that. She was helping everybody all the time. After a while, it was annoying. Go be selfish for a few days. Stop it. And it was an addictive, abusive behavior, not only to herself, but to the other people that she was endlessly trying to help. It's too much. Don't be a Mother Teresa. I don't even know if Mother Teresa was actually like that. I heard she had some really bad things going on, but I'm not there. Another thing is, don't just read something and believe it unless you were there. You don't know, right? You don't know. Like people who think they know these Hollywood celebrities, like Will Smith, everybody loved him. Then one day they realize, whoa, look at that part of Will Smith. Where'd that come from? Well, it was probably always a part of it, or had been for some time. But people can play. What do actors do? They're playing a role. They're acting. That's what they do. That's why many of them can hide those things, right? And you see a lot of people in the public arena, not only in Hollywood, but politics and business and elsewhere. Epstein, and others coming forth, or Bill Cosby, finding out, these fun, lovable, great people were doing some evil, malicious, nasty stuff. So you don't know anybody. I worked in Hollywood for 7 years, doing stand-up comedy. I was listening to Bill Burr. I worked with Bill Burr, and he was just doing a podcast. He says, it's funny to see these people that I know, and all these other people are being deceived by that person's public persona. But I know that guy is a fill in the blank, not good, fill in the blank, right? So that's the thing. You use this. Nice to have all this fit, slim and sexy, six-pack, blah, blah, blah. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. You want this in shape. This is your money maker. This thing. Da, da, da. Work it. Pretentious, covert behavior. Often we disguise our concern for ourselves as concern for others, and we continue to purchase the approval of others. That's right. By giving up our right to get our own way. Wow. Isn't this great? She is genius. Just the way it's put there in your face, so obvious, so common sense, so matter-of-factly. I love it. That's why I've probably read this book or worked through this book 50 times, 60, 100, I don't know how many times, right? But, it's great to keep reworking it because the truths are so fundamental, foundational, right? Foundational means essential to life, right? It's a staple of your diet, this stuff, right? It should be a staple of your diet. We often allow others to treat us unfairly because we do not want to confront or challenge them. Wimps, don't be a wimp. Nor do we wish to disturb our deeply ingrained notions of right and wrong. Yeah, that's another thing. I teach a critical thinking class, right? And one of the last things that people don't think well because they're weak-minded. There's a lot of things that we know or we think we know or we have opinions on that are wrong. But since we've believed it for so long, we will not believe anything that runs counter to our beliefs. Even if there's 1,000 experts who have said that what I'm thinking, what I believe is wrong, and I find one expert who believes what I'm saying, I'm going to go with that one expert. People are very weak-minded, extremely weak-minded. Weakness is failure. Weakness is difficulty. Weakness is frightening. Don't be weak, be strong. Strong-minded. I'm not talking about being perfect and a hard ass or something like that. Nobody is. We're all physically limited, right? And people live a certain amount of time. What is the United States? 80 years roughly lifespan, and then you go on for eternity, right? Accidents are killing people all the time, cancers, disease, and whatever, right? So we die relatively easy. If you think you're all big and bad and tough, don't go there. I know I'm not. I survived cancer. I've survived heart attack. I survived appendicitis. I survived several car accidents. I've had 3, 4 major car accidents. I should be dead. I think I'm on life 9 now. So I'm done. I think next time I'm going. For me, it'll be like a relief. I'm like, take me, Calgon, take me away. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. This is too damn hard. I was thinking of Scent of a Woman. That's a good movie. You know why I didn't do the right thing? Why I never. This is a guy who plays the Scent of a Woman, the lead character in there. But one of the lead characters is he plays a colonel in the army, and he's just made bad choices in his life, and he's ended up blind because he was very negligent in his behavior. He was drunk. Something about a grenade blew up and blinded himself, basically. So he ended up miserable the rest of his life, just sitting in the backyard of his daughter-in-law's, like a little guest house. And his daughter-in-law's house, just sits out there every day, blind, doing nothing. He wants to kill himself. That's the basic. And then this young guy comes along and saves him, basically, and gives him a purpose for being some young 19-year-old college guy or high school. No, I think he's high school. Yeah, he's in a prep school, so he's probably 17, 18. Right? And he's at this kid's trial because the kid is in trouble, right? And the colonel comes and protects him, saves him from getting dispelled from this prep school. And the kid doesn't have a lot of money. So what's he going to do, right? I don't know how he got in the school, but probably grades, worked hard. But he has a lot of courage, and he has a lot of. I'm going to start getting emotional. he has a lot of courage, right? He's a very honorable person, right? And the colonel comes to support him because he says, I know he would not sell out anybody. He does not lie. I don't know if it's right or wrong what he's doing, but I can tell you he's got integrity. Great. If you haven't seen Scent of a Woman, one of my top 10 movies. Al Pacino. Al Pacino is the guy that plays the colonel. And the kid is played by the kid that played Robin, Batman and Robin, one of the old movies, one of the early Batman movies. Anyways, I'm rambling. We tell ourselves that we are above engaging in conflict over unimportant trifles, but despite what we think, we turn the other cheek, not because it is right, but because it is easy. True. So she's got this extended example, and she's explaining it out in some detail, right? So you can read through that. Mahatma Gandhi. When his duty is to face danger and he flees, it is cowardice. No brave person is not scared. All brave people are scared, but they realize that they have to do the right thing. And I found in my life that I grew up very weak. I basically let life beat me about the ears. I was a doorstop for life, right? Or a punching bag for life, I guess, right? I was a punching bag and life was just punching me around, And sometime in my early 20s, I'm going, screw this. I was suicidal. I was depressed all the time. I never talked to anybody, very introverted, shy. I'm still introverted, but shy no more. I've taken a weakness and made it a strength, and that's what you want to do. Get rid of your weaknesses. Get rid of your weaknesses, doubt, fear, anger, pride, selfishness. There's a list in here, and I hope I run into it and I don't skip over it. And if you look at those, it's probably about 12 things. She says you need to get rid of. They're critical. You can probably find these lists out there on the internet. 12 elements of your character or personality that you need to get rid of in order to be healthy, in order to be strong. Get rid of the weakness. Be a good person, be honorable, right? And I said, man, I had all of those at one time in droves, right? And then I looked at them, out of those 12, maybe 2 or 3 I still do once in a while. You know, you're never going to clean up the list entirely, but you do want to take it down to its knees, right? Many of us taught, this is searching for our own inner conviction, taught that when someone slaps you, you should turn the other cheek. This is not always the best course of action. True. She talks about the reed in the wind, or the grass blade in the wind, right? Or staunch like the oak. Most of the time, you should be like the weed. Grass. Reed, not weed. Don't be a weed. Reed in the wind, or grass, right? In the wind, bending. Because we don't know everything. Sometimes we have to be in situations or do things. We have no choice. Maybe, for instance, you have to work on a job, be in a job for some time while you're working on, going to school or getting training or whatever, apprenticing, getting to something you want to do, right? And I've been there, right? Or think about those actors or stand-up comedians. I have to do crap jobs, or just all the actors things, performing at baby parties, or kids parties, I should say, as a clown or something, before you get that first real big gig. So we all have to kind of take it, but if you're taking it without good reason or cause, if you're just taking it for the sake of taking it, and you're lazy, not applying yourself, you don't have a goal, you don't have any methodology, any way of moving forward or thinking of achieving something, right? A plan, right? I want to think that through. There is a time to submit to being slapped, and there's a time to hit back twice. True. Don't hit back twice if you're a junior, or if you're just starting out, if you're a rookie, right? But if you're some seasoned vet and you've had enough crap thrown in your direction, and you're a pretty honorable person and you have a good reputation, based on that reputation, you could probably hit back. And I'm not talking about like physical strike, but being honest, brutally honest, to the core, telling the truth, telling it like it is, being real. That's one of the things most of my students compliment me with. This is the most real professor I've ever had. I don't know what kind of professors they have, if they're AI or robots or androids or something. Probably are. There are probably a bunch of Mark Zuckerbergs. You ever see that guy? Gosh. That guy ain't a robot. Nobody is. Anyways, so you would not be slapped again. If someone slaps your face, you might turn the other cheek for one or several reasons. Perhaps you have chosen the path of submission with a full understanding of what that means. Maybe that's better than just submitting without a plan or knowing why. It might be that even though you feel the impulse to strike back, you suppress your anger because you have been taught that violence is wrong. Or it might be that you are afraid to further provoke your antagonist. And now she puts forth this example of Han Zin. Han Zin, which was talked about in the previous chapter, right? Remember that guy? When he was young, he was confronted by a couple of punks, and they said, fight us or crawl between our legs like a dog. And he crawled, right? And the whole town saw this and go, what? We thought you were a good fighter, one of the best, right? So many years later, he turns out to be a general of the army or some high-ranking, prestigious military position. And somebody comes up to him and goes, I know you. Aren't you that young boy that crawled between the legs of those two thugs way back when? 20 years ago or something, whatever, right? Why didn't you fight them? You could have taken them both down. Yeah. He says there would have been no purpose. There would have been no honorable purpose to that. I could have beaten them. But I am not about myself. I am about my family, the honor of my family, the honor of my country, the honor of my leader. Those are the things I fight for, not myself. Damn, Skippy, right? Lesson extraordinaire right there. Know what I'm saying? Last paragraph, the thick-faced black heart practitioner understands that hitting back does not necessarily make you a bad person. It might be well that in punishing violent behavior, you are acting as a peacemaker. True. Just think of the malicious fascist tyrants that have attempted to take over the world, Hitler being one, Mussolini, and so forth and so on, blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you weren't hitting back and hitting back hard like a Patton, General Patton, he was a mean SOB. But in order to combat mean, you had to step up your meanness and take not only mean with mean, but meaner to win. Like in sports, I play a lot of sports. And you usually find that the most tough-minded people like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, going back to my era, those guys, like dogs, right, in the fight. That's how they got their championships, right? And then their rings. I was going to include Shaq, but he's like 900 pounds and 20 feet tall. All he has to do is hit you with his fat butt, big butt, and you're down. It's hard to be tough when you can beat up half a dozen guys in a couple of seconds. Anyways, so thick-faced black heart practitioner understands that hitting back does not necessarily make you a bad person. Might will be that in punishing violent behavior, you are acting as a peacekeeper. The truth is that most of the commonly accepted standards of behavior are arbitrary. Arbitrary, mean not founded in fact, 100% absolute fact, just kind of made up. Kind of like a parent who says, "My way or the highway." It's totally objective. My way is the way everybody should do it, and then you find out it's a way, and it's probably a bad way, but it's also very subjective, right? There's a lot of subjectivity out there that's put forth as the objective way. Just look at politics. Democrats say one thing, then Republicans or Green Party or Independents say other things. If you look at what, especially the two main parties, Democrat and Republican, if you look what they're saying, it's just totally, one party is saying something about the other party, and then the other party is saying the exact same thing back to the opposing party. So what is it? It's politics. I don't know. Politics is kind of it's screwy. People don't deal in issues anymore. They just attack. You're not a part of this club, then you're evil. If you're red, you're evil. Or if you're on the other side, if you're blue, you're evil. It's it. No questions. You're not an American. We don't even have to talk to you. You're not human. Because you're blue, because you're red, whatever. Good Lord, I hate that crap. I mean, I know a lot about politics. I probably learn about what's going on in the political arena on a pretty regular basis, 5 days a week at least. I listen to podcasts and stuff. And I understand it, because it's the water in which we swim. The political, the economical, right? Those are waters in which we swim. You can't avoid the political, right? Because there's political laws and principles and precedences that have been set and are being set on a regular basis that control, dictate as to what you think of COVID, dictates as to what you can and cannot do, right? So we're very involved in the political, but also the economical, who isn't affected by money, who doesn't need money, right? Anyways, I'm rambling too much. Most of the commonly accepted standards of behavior are arbitrary, and the arbitrators themselves are often flawed individuals. There you go, bingo, bingo, who have perpetuated their own weakness and fear under the guise of virtue. I've had my students do research on the imperfections of predictions from experts. Inevitably, almost, I don't want to say all the time, but very, 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 very frequently, experts are wrong. And there's a whole, that's why people, to follow the science. What is that? Science is performed by humans who are fallible, who are subjective, who are limited in their understanding, right? What we don't know is way more than what we do know of any category, discipline, or study, right? So, if you think that, for instance, I'm not going to get into the politics of environment, but there are, if you listen to atmospheric physicists, atmospheric physicists, and they're not the ones that people are talking to. Rather, they're talking to politicians or the media or other organizations that profit from the environmental regulation, right? But if you listen to atmospheric physicists, that's a tough one to say clean. Anyways, you find out that there's a myriad of inputs, right? Almost into the environment. Many, and he says, we understand human input. That's one, right? But we still don't understand. We greatly don't know. What we don't know is much more than what we do know about the influences and their direct relationship to the climate and climate change, right? So it's difficult to know. There have been a lot of predictions about climate over the years. Go look them up, and none of them came true, right? So, and I don't care. I don't care if you believe in climate change or don't believe in it. What's being purported by one side or the other. All I'm asking is, don't listen to the mainstream media, don't listen to politicians, and don't listen to organizations that aren't experts. Look up atmospheric scientists, right? See what they say. And then you can make your own decision. I'm not going to tell you. I don't care. I'd rather just have you figure it out for yourself. I'm no expert. Right? I am no expert. Let me qualify. Discovering the mystery within the staunchness. There it is, right there. Staunchness of the oak, yielding of the grass. I already talked about that, right? Understanding yourself. Briggs-Myers typology test, right? To achieve the state of thick-faced black heart, examine the role you are currently playing in the world. In order to free yourself from the domination of arbitrary ideals and discover the true standards by which you should behave, you need to find the courage to do what must be done without regard to what others may think. And that's when you're using your sword. Shield protects from the incoming. Sword gets you moving forward with the outgoing, right? Extraordinary people don't care what others think of them, right? Not just older people, but younger people too, any age. Thick-faced black heart seems to come naturally to them. True, right? They do well in getting what they want, but not a lot of people live there or begin there, right? It's very difficult to do, right? They do well in getting what they want because they are unencumbered by others' opinions. Think about the people in politics and sports, in the public arena, in the public eye, Hollywood and so forth. These people are constantly under the microscope, right? Especially with social media. Everything and anything you say is or do is scrutinized, why is that person wearing that shirt? Why did he walk backwards for 2 steps and then move forward the rest of the time? What does that mean? What is wrong with that person? Why can't they just walk forward all the time? The neuroses I see, the neuroses, if you don't know what that is, look that word up. The neuroses I see in the observations, these really quippy little observations made by a lot of people on social media, really shows you kind of the general small-mindedness and weak thinking of most people, many people, too many people. Stop it. If I was a physician, I'd send you a prescription. Stop it. Stop it. You're making me sick. And other people in your own self, right? Come on, bro. However, most people have been conditioned to be affected by the opinion of others. True. I could give a crap, personally. I'm not advising you to become an amoral, self-centered person. See, there's that self-analysis. You want to do these things on the up and up. You don't want to be self-serving, self-dominating. You want to be a state of forgiveness and giving. Forgiveness and giving. Forgive yourself, forgive others. You make mistakes, I make mistakes. Let's move forward. You don't need to cancel everybody who does something wrong once in a while. 29 years ago, you said this. Cancel. Good Lord, we all say stuff. Cancel everybody. If you're going to cancel one person, cancel everybody, because everybody makes mistakes. Everybody is a sinner. Trying to go with the religious perspective, right? Judge not, lest ye be judged. I remember that from my catechism, my Catholic upbringing, right? And if you're judging other people, you have to judge people from perspective or from a point of perfection, right? How can you judge other people if you're making mistakes, or if you're sinful, or you're in a fallen state of being, meaning you're not without errors, right? And we all make mistakes. We don't know everything. We're not consistent all the time. We get weak, we get tired, we get angry, we get fed up. All of these things. Right? We get sick. We have breakups. We lose jobs. Those things that set us off emotionally, right? People don't understand that. Why was that person so angry? They're like that all the time? Yeah, I bet, sure. And then you find out they just had a serious divorce, or maybe lost a job, or had their health damaged or something, just came up with had their doctor tell them about a really serious health issue. Anyways, I'm not advising you to become an amoral, self-centered person, but to recognize the difficulties that are involved for a naturally caring, sensitive person such as yourself. And she's being nice there, of course. To pursue your own legitimate self-interest, not selfishness. There's a difference between self-interest and selfishness. Selfishness, I'm just going to sit around and be lazy and eat a lot and do nothing for anybody and just feed all my needs and forget about everybody. Self-interest is looking at improving yourself, doing something or some things that you need to do in order to improve yourself, to make yourself better for you and for everybody else. Il y a la différence. Parlez-vous français? Arrêtez, répétez. Où est la bibliothèque? I just gave you all the French I know for my 4 years of French. No, it was 1 year. That's all I know. Oh, agricola, agricolon. That's the grammatical definition of farmer, agriculture. That's where it came from. Anyways, too much information. Anyways, naturally caring person. There's something valuable for you to learn from these more detached people. Now, detached doesn't mean that they don't care, but they have a certain amount of strength, and they understand that they have to stay away from stuff. Stay away from self-indulgence, self-pity, right? You got to be strong. Work on being a leader, being strong for yourself, for your family, for your community, for your state, for your nation, for your world, whatever, right? Be strong. Strong doesn't mean to be infallible. We're all going to have weaknesses and moments in which we fail or cry out for help. Pray, prayer, scream, whatever, right? So, but you want to limit it. It's not about being perfect. It's about limiting weakness in your life. Getting rid of as much of the garbage in, garbage out. I've gotten rid of tons of garbage in my life. Tons of it. I never yell. Let me qualify that. Hardly ever. Sometimes I get cranky, but 99% of the time, I don't yell at my wife. I don't yell at my kids. I don't. I love them. And usually anger, it comes from a point of selfishness. Once you realize the base core reasoning behind certain things that you're doing, or that we do as a people, it makes so much more sense, and it really helps you to kind of fine-tune the way in which you function in the world, excuse me, and interrelate with others, right? That's what we're looking for. That's good, right? Their disgrace for others' opinions enables them to focus on the accomplishment of their objectives. This can only be done by achieving a clear understanding of yourself, your actions. Self-observation, bingo, is essential for self-growth. This is what I'm talking about. You must first understand the motives for your own actions. Bingo. I love this. I'm going to marry this. I don't have to divorce my wife. I'll just be a bigamist. I'll be married to my wife and these concepts. Can I do that? Don't tell her. I'm going to be cheating on her. For your own actions, in order to understand others, it is especially important to look within yourself in times of great distress and misfortune. If you can succeed in detaching yourself from the misery of your experience, you will see with complete clarity the real nature of the situation. The proper course of action will then shine forth. I almost did a Joe Biden. So what do we need to do? What do we need to do? You ever notice that? He starts whispering at a certain point. I almost did a Joe. So the world is now so simple. What do we need to do? The world's not so simple that we can just make and follow rules about what is wrong and right. Right and wrong is moral decisions, right? We seek an understanding. That's another thing you should read about. Ethics, I've taught, and I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. But there are some core, there's a guy by the name of Alan Bloom, and he was an educator, and he talked about standards of learning, or standards of learning, or standards of knowledge, information gathering that we all should have from various fields. And I think that's a huge one. Understanding ethics, right? And that really comes into play when you're trying to understand yourself and understand yourself in relationship to others. And ethically, morally, how do we function? What do we do? What's good? What's bad? Throw away the good, the weak, throw away the bad, acquire the good, right? You will gradually replace the beliefs you were taught with the truths you discover. Okay? Because the ones that you're taught are not necessarily all bad, but you kind of have to weed them out. And it has to be a proactive approach, right? And it all comes through self-analysis, self-understanding, self-observation. Tattoo that somewhere. Put that sentence. Self-observation is essential for self-growth. I should do that. That bingo. I just realized something. I'm probably going to have to go through this book again and kind of like pull out these phrases that you can kind of put, people that put those, I don't do it myself, but they put all these, my wife kind of does that. She has a bulletin board and she writes these things on the board. That's kind of stuff. People will do that. They'll put these statements, maybe a sentence or two or quote, and they'll post them around what I have posted on mine. I don't know if you can see. I got a desk here. I have all my sports stickers. I got football, baseball, basketball, basically. And over here, I've got on this little door, I've got Marvel Universe. Oh, later, I just subscribed to Disney. I'm going to watch Guardians of the Galaxy. I love that first one. I am a Marvel fanatic. I'm 100 years old and I'm still following any Marvel movie that comes out. I go, Mike, let's go. Marvel movie. Woo woo. I'm 12 again. It's great. Don't ever grow up. There's a certain part of you got to stay alive, right? Anyways, where was I? The world's not so simple that we can just make up fall rules. Self-knowledge is a more reliable guide to behavior than adherence to arbitrarily, there's the word again, imposed standards, though both are susceptible to error. I couldn't write, there's no way I could write this better. That's why I'm reading this book, and I'm not saying it from me, I'm saying it from her. She's got it way down. And I really kind of followed these concepts unknowingly. I wasn't able to put any words or labels to what I was doing. But after I read this book, I go, oh, yes. That's the first book. I don't even know if I have it, but it's around here somewhere. Yeah, I have the book, Thick Face Black Heart. Maybe I can find it for next time. And I was just writing in it, like doing like annotations. I thought I had it down here. I can't find it. Annotations, and I was, well, yes, right, of course, I know, right, through the whole book. So what's good about this is that you're putting specific words and labels, and so that you can see it. A lot of times we just do things in a nebulous way, kind of just vague, nebulous understanding. We just kind of float and do stuff. That's what you got to have definitions. You really got to see it. It makes it, clarifies it, right? It becomes concrete and clear, right? No effing around. Now I know. I got a label. I got a definition. I got terms, right? This book is giving you labels and terms and definitions so that you can see and have something concrete to follow, not some just kind of, well, I got stuff and things, and I do stuff and things. What are they? Oh, I don't know, but stuff and things, and I do, and stuff and things and stuff. Don't be like that. I oftentimes see these now with all these YouTube video pranksters or whatever. They go out now and they ask questions, and they ask questions like who was the first president to occupy? I know these things because I'm a total nerd. I read a lot. Who was the first president to occupy the White House? John Adams. What was some of the other questions? And these YouTubers are like, if you can answer all these questions, 5 questions, I'll give you $1,000. And then there was another question: what is the loudest mammal? I know it. It's the sperm whale. Actually, it's the blue whale, we found out later. But it's well, anything, if it's going to make a loud noise, it's going to be big. So it's going to have a cavity that's going to allow a huge echo, right? You just understand stuff, man. Come on, bro. And so I said to myself, it's got to be something huge. What's the hugest thing in the ocean? Sperm whale, blue whale? Sperm whale. And then the guy, he goes, yes. Eventually somebody gave the answer, and I knew that one. Every question that they ask, I should just go find out where these guys are and just start answering questions. I don't think I ever got one question wrong. How many continents? 7. I knew that. Come on. And he's asking people like at Harvard. A lot of these kids, Harvard, why are you paying $60,000 a year if you're that dumb? Geez, if you're that dumb, just go to a community college. Why are you spending all that money to be that dumb? That's okay. Oh, I'm going to have to get back to the education stuff. That's always a hot spot. A hot spot of confusion and profound angst. Anyways, it's not whether you turn the other cheek that's important. Why? Most important question in the world. Why do you do? Why do or do not is most significant. Why? Right? Why and because. Why do you do it? Because. Figure out the why, figure out the because. Self-knowledge is a more reliable guide to behavior than adherence to arbitrarily imposed standards, though both are susceptible to error. You will make mistakes no matter which path you follow. Yes, bingo. But mistakes made in the path of self-discovery will correct themselves, while those made through blind adherence, unknowingly where they come from or what you're doing or why you're doing it, right? The subjective standards simply perpetuate the folly, right? The funster, the joker, the error prone, right? In this sifting process, you will discover that many of the concepts you were taught were in fact correct after all, but your self-examination will not have been in vain. Your beliefs will become your convictions. More importantly, you will have freed yourself from the need for others' approvals. Don't take my word. True. I just say that all the time, don't I? Don't take my word. You do it. You figure it out. Carefully observe your thoughts and actions. You will see for yourselves the false and arbitrary nature, so forth, right? Let's see. Yeah, last paragraph, and then she comes into an example here. Within each one of us, there is a silent voice that wants to cry out and shout, I exist, I exist, I have needs, wants, and desires, which are noble and good. My ideas and rules may be different than yours, but they are mine and deserve to be expressed. Unless I am nourished, satisfied, and fulfilled, how can I be of use to anyone else? This is gold. Gold, my friends. Breaking the bondage of fear of success and fear of failure, right? Fear of success is more powerful than the fear of failure. Bingo. Okay. She takes a lot of the norms or the accepted, remember I talked about that? Accepted beliefs that have been handed down through the decades and the centuries and the eons, depending on how old you think this planet is. That is why there are so many people prone to become failures than successes, right? Bottom, let's look at the last paragraph. Before we can succeed, we must clearly understand that success means change and the risk of failure. And the higher you want to go, the more you're going to fail, right? That's why Michael Jordan said, I have failed more than most. That's why I've achieved more than most. You know, his early years, a lot of failure, first 6-7 years of his playing, right? Same thing with LeBron. Most of these guys that start winning championships are usually in their late 20s. Some get it early, most later. Because in order to win, especially at that level, there's a lot of things you have to understand. There's a lot of things you have to do, and there's proper combinations of things within you and what you do and think and feel and how you act, and also in your relationship to others or team members. Sports is a great analogy for life. And I constantly use sports as an analogy for life, right? Most of us are driven by fear to rise, fear to fall, fear that we remain in the same place. That's the thing that got me going. I'm living at home. I'm in Connecticut, living in my big house. And, you know, my dad did pretty well for us. And I'm laying in my bed and I'm hearing the birds and going, look, I'm living the life. I'm living the upper crusties. I'm upper middle class. But I was depressed. I said, I got to leave. And I put myself in dire situations. Sometimes I was almost living on the street, but I was not going to take any money or handouts. And I did it myself, and I did it my way. And I overcame the difficulties and the challenges, and it has meant all the world to me. Taking that path less traveled. It has meant all the world to me and almost anyone else who has some substance or intrinsic, natural merit, value. I'm not saying I'm great shakes, but there's a lot of good in here that I had to cultivate, right? Or I told you, I started out empty, bankrupt, and I started putting my money into my bank, right? Bank it, baby. Let's go. Fear to fall, fear that we'll remain in the same place. So many of us think that we want to be rich. Isn't that funny? Just talk about that. That we want to be famous, want to accomplish that. You know, if you want to become famous, you know, I didn't necessarily want to become famous, but I knew I did want to be work in the computer field. So I went into stand-up comedy because I was naturally funny. And my sister said, you know what, you should be a comedian. You are a comedian. Why don't you go get paid for it? And I started doing that. But then I realized I didn't want to work within the Hollywood environment. It's very gross. I have a lawyer friend that works in Hollywood, and he says, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I said, so why do you stay? He goes, I'm used to it. I can kind of run with the pigs now, you know, run with the lions. I can kind of run with the, you know, I know what it is, how to work this system, and it's what I do, you know, anyways. But often these feelings are just idle ruminations. Most of the things we think we want come at a price. That's it. In doing something, there's almost always a trade-off. It's not always one for one or all or nothing, right? Trade-offs. Leaving behind our familiar life and venturing into the unknown. Me. Left Connecticut, went to Boston, left Boston, went to LA all by myself, all by my lonesome. Every time we accomplish something and move ahead, we have to exchange the known conditions of our life for the uncertainty and unfamiliarity. And that shit is scary. Horrifying at times. But tremendously invigorating and enlivening when you meet the fear head on. The big, hulking, massive evil with the horns and the red head and body, right? And the tail wagging there and snapping at you, right? And then you overcome it. And you realize all the time that that thing wasn't humongous. It was a little tiny mouse with horns. Little tiny mouse with horns, painted red. That's all it was. It was all in your head. This is gold. Gold, my friends. Gold. Every time we accomplish something and move ahead, we have to exchange the known conditions of our life for uncertainty and so forth and so on. Before we can succeed, we must clearly understand that success means change and the risk of failure. This is just, read this, please. I can't go over everything for you, right? Understanding the nature of illusion or reality, this is perfect. This is perfect. From the perfect springs the perfect. If the perfect is taken from the perfect, only the perfect remains. Ancient Hindu scripture. What the hell does that mean, right? This is perfect. From the perfect springs the perfect. If the perfect is taken from the perfect, only the perfect remains. That's crazy stuff. Hindu, I've read the Dhammapada, the Rig Veda, the Analects of Confucius, a lot of that Eastern philosophy, theology. Don't do drugs, read that stuff. Or read some physics books. Read Einstein, Hawking, Richard Feynman. You want to get your mind blown? Read some of the abstract physics, theology, philosophy. It's just that some of the concepts are like, what? It's like takes you to another realm of understanding. You know? That's why I don't do drugs. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I do reading. That's my drug. Nothing gets me higher. I don't care. Learning and getting that cathartic buzz when you learn something. I am high, bro. So the students were puzzled. This is the pancake. Perfect. You know, each of the pancakes was different shape, so forth. Right. Finally, one of the students said, hey, master, how can these pancakes all be perfect? Pancakes are supposed to be round, not supposed to be burned. The master lifted the last pancake off the griddle, put it in his young disciples' hand. It was shaped somewhat like a gourd. Perfect, he repeated. Once a great teacher told me, if you don't like the world you see, change dye prescription of your glasses. Great one. I don't know, let's talk about this friend again. She hadn't met in years. As we recall some of our past encounters, I remarked, everything that has happened is perfect. My friend said, I don't understand what you mean, and I'm not sure you do either. Truth is simple as change your prescription. There is nothing wrong with the world but your view of it. So I don't know if this concept is 100% absolutely correct, but just the overarching understanding or philosophy, I guess we could say, is pretty right on, right? You know, if you're in traffic and you're always angry and trying to scoot through and putting yourself and others in danger, why don't you slow down? Why don't you listen to some music? Why don't you put some educational stuff on your CD player, your CD, whatever else you got in your car? I listen to podcasts. I plug my phone into the speakers in my car and listen. I listen to tons of podcasts. Never listen to the radio. I don't have cable or satellite TV. I don't watch any regular shows, any regular series on television. I don't just surf the internet. Social media, I'm on once in a while when I have downtime, but I find it really boring. I really don't. I just kind of use it for maybe keeping in touch with people, updating my knowledge, or promoting some of the stuff that I've got here. Then she goes into an example. A couple of years ago, blah de da da da. Through this experience, I blah blah blah. So this is kind of a long chapter. So I've already been going for some time. I'm not gonna keep you. Master the distinction between virtue and vanity. I really don't have much to say about that. Not a section that I found of interest. Overcoming fear. Fear is the most destructive of emotions. Fear is to a man's soul as a drop of poison is to a well of spring water. And this is what I did, man. I overcame my fears by confronting them. Eleanor Roosevelt, not an attractive woman, to be honest. She said that. She knew that. And she was also very shy and self-effacing, self-doubting. But when she became first lady, she started to do things for others. And it really opened her up. And she became very empowered and empowering. Right? So it's amazing. And she said, the fears that you have are often, as I said, they're these big foreboding beasts, or you think they are. And then you go out and do something and you realize, this ain't so bad. You know? I couldn't have ever imagined when I was younger, maybe in my teens, early 20s, talking in front of people. That's all I've done for the last 30, 35 years. All I do. I've done it at church organizations. I've done it colleges. I've done it in comedy clubs. I've done it at seminars. Spoken in front of dozens, hundreds of people, thousands, I don't know, thousands maybe. Fear is to a man's soul, that's right. Fear wears so many different masks and comes in so many forms, true. Deep down in our subconscious, we are wise enough to recognize the fragility of how the universe was put together, that our existence and survival hangs on the invisible threads of God's grace. In our conscious awareness, fear is a vague but continuously nagging uneasiness. Most people do not even know that they're afraid most of the time. Now, to overcome this, there's certain things that you need to do. I'm kind of a religious person, so I go there. You don't necessarily have to go there. But I can tell you from my personal perspective and understanding my limitations and understanding things from a more eternal perspective. That's why I love reading. I read all those sacred texts, Dhammapada, the Rig Veda, the Analects of Confucius, Old and New Testament, the Quran, Book of Mormon. Read them all, right? And the wisdom in there, golden nuggets, right? Then she gives some more examples here, right? She's gonna usefulness of fear, right? Emotion of fear is not bad, as everything under heaven has its purpose, right? Understanding fear. Fear does not have to be destructive, right? Fear does not necessarily have to be something that you run away from. Fear, why are you afraid? Maybe you need to understand it. Can you do something in order to alleviate all fear? No, possible. But limit it. Limit those things you control, and then leave unto God, as they say, or to chance, or to the universe, or to your friends. I don't know, whatever source you want to use. As a fear, then she really gets into the diversity is fear. In spite of your fear, do what you have to do. I talked about that, right? Acquire the courage to believe in yourself. That's huge. Realize the thick-faced, black heart nature of the Creator. So if you're not a religious person, again, you don't need to do it. The thing I like about this book is that there's the summary of key points. So if you've read a chapter to get a basic understanding, comprehension, you might come back and get more into the details. Just go to the summary. Kind of a reviewing. Sometimes I just go to the summary. As we move along, I'll probably get less into going through each chapter point by point somewhat, and just go to the summary of key points, right? To move things forward. Dharma is the next thing, next two chapters. Anyways, I'm done. I hope you enjoyed this little interlude, and we'll see you next time.